Hello and welcome to this tutorial, everybody. Today we are going to start and create a simple SQLite insert application, which is going to insert a record and also display uh, the records from the SQLite database. So first of all, we've got this activity as our main activity. So our main activity's got this interface. We've got these four buttons: display, insert, update, and delete. Insert will call the insert activity, which I've designed a simple interface here, and a display activity, another interface I've designed, simple interface which will actually show. So I'm gonna just display to you what happens into the main activity. The main activity, the user clicks on first of all insert. So we will complete this first flow. When the user presses on the insert button, what method is called, which will call the SQLite helper child class, which will actually insert into the database. So the first step we want to do is we want to start with creating the method handler for the insert button. So let's go ahead and create this. I'm going to go to the main class, and I'll say public void go to insert. So it's actually not inserting into the database, it is going to the insert page. So there's a view supposed to be here, view vw, just give it any name. If it gives you any error that it does not find certain class, let's say view class, it will give you an error like this. Just point out here and alt enter, it will import automatically. Here in the view class, first thing we want to do is to instantiate the 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 intent. Basically we need to create the intent, and that intent will actually go to the next page and display our insert activity. So first of all, intent I is equal to new intent with an I, with I capital, and the name of this class is main activity dot this, and we need to go to insert activity dot class. No need to put in any data because we're not passing on any data. We'll just start activity I. So that's intent. So let's save this, go back to the main. You may need to close and open again for it to refresh. So insert will take us to the go to insert. Okay, let's save this, go back to the main activity. We'll also do for the display button. I'm going to copy this. I'll say go to display, and it will also take us to display activity class. So we are just creating the links to the buttons, and the main activity should take the display button to go to display. Okay, now when it goes to the insert activity, I've created this here. Let me just fill out this match parent so it becomes more clear. The layout, I've got one text edit text which is for saving title. I named it title txt, hint is title. Another edit text, named it name txt, hint is author name. And then this button, insert button, which is not insert button but insert db button. Make sure you make that distinction in the names. This main button on the main activity, this insert btn is its name, so make sure you don't duplicate the names across different activities because that can create confusions. So this one is insert btn, and this one inside the actual insert activity is the insert db btn, which is going to go actually and insert into database. Okay, so let's create the handler for this. I'm going to go to the insert activity, and I just added this insert db a view, and I will connect it with this. There's no intent, it's actually not going to intent, it's just going to insert into the database. So I'll connect that handler, and let's write the code over here first of all. So for this is actually a class which is going to call the database. So this is the class, the Java class, which is responsible for calling the handler, which will actually eventually insert into the database. So first of all, this class should create the references to the edit text so that we can read the values, and based on those values it will instantiate the book object, and then it should call the book helpers add method. So this is what we really want to do. First of all, let's create the references. So we have edit text, and the name of this is title txt I kept. You can give different names also, and you define view by id r.id dot title text. And the second one we have also edit text, and that's the author name txt is equal to find view by id r.id dot. It's not display name, it's actually name txt. You want to make sure that you're connecting to the correct component, and we cast it back to the correct class edit text. And now we read these values and instantiate a book object. Remember, the book object is actually our book, which has an author name and the title, and also any code if there is. So let's do that. Insert activity, instantiate book is equal to new book, which is consisting of first of all is what you need to follow this exact same order. So first of all it should be author, then title, then code. Well, the code, let's just remove the code now, because we don't have that being read from the interface. So, and also delete from here if you have this dot code is equal to code. We're just reading author and title. It will save into a database and it will generate its own primary key automatically. So let's do this with the two only. Insert activity should have author first of all, I believe. Author, and then the title. This book author. So author name txt dot get text dot to string, which is actually giving us the string, and then a comma. Next thing it needs is the title. So title txt dot get text, which is actually editable. We don't need editable object, we need the toString object, meaning the string object, toString. So we create a new, instantiate a new book. Now we'll call the book helpers add book method. So what's the book helper? Well, the book helper is our own helper class, which is the child of SQLite DB. So book helper helper is equal to new book helper this, and helper dot add book. We did not create this method yet, we will create it now. Book. So this is, let me just rename this to book object so it's very clear what it is. Rename, refactor, rename book, rename book object. So it's a book object I will be adding to the database, and then toast display here record inserted successfully. Alright, now let's go and create this method into the book helper. So I open book helper and I'll add a new method, public void add book, which will take a parameter which is a book object. Just camel back that to follow the convention. Now the first thing you should do is to create the connection with the database. So we also will be doing the log. So let's do the log first, log.d. So you will find out where is the current position, where the code is. We are in book helper. It will be printing all this onto the screen. Book helper is doing what? Inserting a book record. So we can see in our Android monitor later on what it is doing. If there is any error, we can see it very clearly. First thing we need to do is get reference to database, and then we need to create context values object and add values to it. The third thing is key should be the same as column name. Please remember that. Okay, then we insert the values into database. Insert values in database table. Lastly, close the connection. So we get the reference to the database. It's just SQLite database, give it any name like db is equal to this dot get writable database, and then the second step is we'll create the content value. Did we write context? It should be content values. Content values values is equal to new content values. If it gives you an error, I don't know content values, just put your name, put your mouse here and hit Control Alt Enter. You'll see if I have already content values, it won't give me this. But if I don't have it, it will give me this error. Just move your mouse over there and Alt Enter. So I created the content values object, which is like key value pair. So I'll say values.put, exactly the same name as the object name of content values, values.put. Now we need to use this same key ID which we use to insert into the table and create the table. Key ID is ID. We use this key ID to create the table ID, title, author. We'll use the same key ID. We use this string so that we cannot make mistakes later on. Maybe when you're reading for a select asterisk where key ID is equal to this, you make a mistake and you say IDs, etc. Okay, so we make sure that we actually use this exactly same one. So we use the variable. So values are put key ID, and the value is whatever is inside this. So key IDs, and then the author and the title. Okay, first of all, we are not saving ID. I just changed that. Well, instead of 3 parameters, I'm saving 2 parameters. So key underscore author and book dot get author. If you read ID from the interface, you can insert it also. It's up to you. So values.put, values.put again, key title, and the value is book object dot get title. So I save author and title. It's key ID, which is auto increment, key title and key author. So we don't enter that, but we will read that. Yeah, it's not optional because you see, sorry, key ID is not optional. Key ID is automatically generated. So you don't insert it, you read it. So what do you insert? Author and title, because key ID is automatically generated by the database and it will automatically insert. So once we have a content collection with the necessary values, we'll then call the insert method, db.insert, and insert in which table? Well, this is the table name we have, so I'm going to call that insert into this table name. Null, to make sure that if something is null, just leave it as null, don't replace it with zeros or empty strings, and the values are actually the content collection values. So in this method, you don't need to write the complicated insert statement, which is insert into database table name, key ID is equal to 1, title is equal to book object dot get title, and comma key author is equal to this. What you do is you just populate this values collection. And remember, whenever you are finished with the database, reading or writing, inserting, updating, reading, just close the connection, db.close. So that's our close. And let's now call this from the insert, db.addBook. It is calling. So there shouldn't be any error now. It should tell us record inserted successfully. So let's run this app. Okay, there is application running. Meanwhile, we'll go to display activity. We'll also create a method here for the display button, public void read next or read database, should be view, give any name, bw, and save it. Sorry, I messed up with the bracket. And I go to display activity, click on this. This button should read next. Okay, and when it is clicked, it should go to read next. Yes. So let's look at this. There's a method I just created. Read next. Yeah, that's right. That's the one I want to call. So I go to insert. Let's write title is UAE, and the author is MBZ, and insert. Record inserted successfully. Okay, which is very good. Now one more thing you should see is when you insert a record into the book helper, from the book helper. Yeah, one more thing, if you're running this the first time, make sure you run the table, actually create a book table. Execute SQL should have that, otherwise it will give you an error, because I've did this before, exactly same name, so it will not give me this error. So please make sure you have actually executed this SQL state which we created in the beginning. So it inserted the record successfully. Now we want to go back and do the display part. Well, when the user clicks on display activity, it comes on this display activity, and this is empty. When the user clicks on read next, it should read and display here the database values, first row, and then read next, it should read the second row, and then the third row, and the fourth row, and so on, etc. So let's just go ahead and do that. This is going to go and call read next, display activity read next. Now here what we should be doing, we actually create the references first of all. So create references, then call the read database method, and then display. So let's create the references. Well, text view, I've given the names. I'll show you what names I've given. This one is TV display name, this is TV display title. Okay, so text view, TV display name, they shouldn't be the same, they don't have to be the same, you can give them different IDs. .id.tv display name, or should be author name, in fact text view TV display title is equal to find view by id r.id.tv display title, and then you just cast that back to text view. Yeah, we cast that back to text view, and then we need to call the database method. Well, first of all, let's create the object of our database helper, book helper. Helper is equal to new book helper, this, and then we'll call helper.readAll. Okay, we did not do the readAll method, so we need to go and do it in the helper, this method. We need to write this method called readAll, which is going to go and read all records and display to us. So readAll, instead we'll write getAll. Okay, getAll public, and this will not be void, it will give back cursor, because it will read and give back cursor. This will just go and add silently, it will not give back any result, but this is supposed to return back results. So it will say we'll return back cursor, get all books, bracket open close, and then I'm gonna just write that like that. Let me just copy and paste this. I'm gonna just log here, reading all books. Okay, and then it creates a connection to the database. Then it should also create a query, then run the query, and then return results. Okay, so why is this error coming up? I just noticed. Log shouldn't be, is it just now that it came up? Apparently yes. So yeah, it should be returning the cursor. So let's first create the query, and then we'll do that in the end. So first of all, let's create the query, which is a string. query is equal to select asterisk from, and we have this table name, right? This table name. So we'll just write table name, select asterisk from table name, run this query, which is going to look like a cursor, which is the result, is equal to db.raw query, and this is our select comma null. So this is my select query, sorry, it should be query select query comma null, and we return back results. So return result. Why are we returning result? Because we said we'll give back a cursor, and cursor is the object which has and holds all the database results. So we'll return this back to whoever call us. So who is calling us? Well, the display activity is calling us. So what we will do is it instantiated the book helper. Now we'll call it. So helper dot get all books, and we'll save the information into a cursor, which is actually results. So now we got the result, and when the user clicks on read next, let's just display it. So we display it like this: result if result dot move to first. So we read the first one, the first record, and we want to display this. So what we do is we go to this and we save. So we display, so tv.display name, sorry, tv display name dot set text is going to be results dot get string 1, or let me just do 0, and then tv display title, meaning this one is the author name, this is the title, dot set text results dot get string 1. So the first index and the second index. It's like in the table you have 3 columns, ID, author name, title. So ID is 0, author name is 1, title is 2. So when you want to read, you will read from 1, not ID but the author name and the title. It depends upon this order which we have created the table in. ID first, and then key title is second, but its index will be 1. Key author is third, but its index will be 2. So we want to read 1 and 2. We don't want to read ID. If you want to read, you can just read and display. It's up to you. So we go to the display activity and say it's reading. Yes, it's reading, and then we want to also display. So just a minute, I'll just put my charger before it gets off. Alright, let's move forward. I'm going to save that. Let's run and see what happens. Okay. Run my application. I'll go to insert. I'll insert one more record. Let's say DXB. Okay, and I do insert. Go back. Display. And I do display, read next, so I can read some values. But guess what, if I read next again, I'll read the same value again. So to solve this, what we do need to do is we just copy this helper get all books, I'm sorry about this noise, and paste here, so that the next time it reads from the next method. Copy this. Just save this. If I don't do that, what I'm doing is upon every read next hit, I go to the database, read all values, and show only the first one. I don't want to do that. What I do want to do, whenever the activity starts on create, read the database and keep silent. When the user clicks on read next, show the first one. Well, not the first one, but the next one. So I'm going to just change that to just dot move to next, and now you will see run. display, read next, read next, read next, read next, read next, etc. Read next, nothing, because that's the last one. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.